This is The Amazing Race by Karen Marquez and Kaylee Farmer. Race at 11 a.m. on Friday, February 5th. Departing from LAX and planning to land in Rio de Janeiro, Galeo International Airport. But because there was no direct flights to Rio, we had to land in Miami and get on a second flight. Our second flight was 17 hours and 20 minutes long, so we had lots of time to rest and be prepared for the day coming ahead. We arrive in Rio at 2:10 p.m. and check into our hotel, the Hilton Barra Rio de Janeiro. After unpacking, we had a lunch of feijoada, a hearty stew of black beans, sausage, and other cuts of pork. It was served with a side of rice and orange slices. We decided to head to the Carnival. Carnival in Rio is one of the best known and largest celebrations in the world. This 10-day holiday is filled with music, parades, drinking, and fun. When we arrived, we listened to the samba music and danced. Samba is referring to ritual music that the African slaves brought to Brazil in the 17th through 19th centuries. We also watched a beautiful and vibrant parade. Many of the people involved were people who lived in favelas. Favelas are the shanty towns of Brazil. As our first challenge, we had to help a woman who lives in the favelas create an intricate costume from affordable items found all over the festival. We had to run all over the festival trying to find beads and feathers to put on the costume. One of the most difficult parts of the challenge was having to sew the pieces on. But we managed to finish quickly. After a tiring day at the Carnival, we returned to our hotel room to collect our luggage and head back to the Galileo airport. Madagascar is
with a population of 22.92 million. Our flight was originally 17 hours and 28 minutes, but because of the time difference, we left at 2:50 a.m. and arrived at 8:10 a.m. We arrived in Antananarivo and decided to head to the royal hill of Ambohimonga. This hill consists of a royal city and burial site with many sacred places that countries strongly identify with, and today it continues to be a place of worship. We walked around the site until noon before heading to La Ribaudière Antananarivo Hotel. The reason the hotel has a name with French origin is because of the influence they have held there since they colonized in the 17th century. At the hotel, zebu steaks, also known as beef, with a side of rice and vegetables were served. When we finished our meal, we caught a flight to the Nosy Mangabe Special Reserve in Marancetra. The Nosy Mangabe Reserve is a small, tropical island completely covered by dense, humid forests. The reserve is especially famous because they harbor many AA lemurs. These rare animals have been hunted by locals for centuries because these fascinating animals are believed to be a symbol of death. As our second challenge, we had to hike around the island and try to find at least 2 ancient graves of the island's first inhabitants. We struggled to find the graves because of all the vegetation growing over everything, but after 3 hours, we managed to find them. After our challenge, we swam and relaxed on the beautiful white sand beach, hoping to get some relaxation time. But we ran into a roadblock. Our roadblock was to spend the night in the forest and feed an entire bowl of fruit to lemurs. We had to complete the roadblock at night because the lemurs eat at night. Fortunately, finding lemurs to feed was an easy task, and we were able to empty the bowl quickly. The next day, we got up, packed our tents, and headed to our hotel room before leaving for our flight to Sydney. Our flight left at 3 p.m., and we landed at Sydney International Airport at 8:25 p.m. Australia is a core country with a population of about 24.5 million people. Some of those people include the Aboriginals. We decided to celebrate with Australia's Indigenous people by participating in the Yaboon Festival. The Yaboon Festival is the largest single-day Indigenous festival in Australia. It occurs on Australia Day and typically attracts between 10,000 to 15,000 people. At this music festival, we observed the way the Aboriginals paint their bodies and dance to embrace their culture. For lunch, we had a traditional Aboriginal dish of kangaroo tail and a chocolate and wattle seed pudding. For our third challenge, we had to try and learn to play the didgeridoo, an instrument typically used in the Aboriginal culture. We struggled greatly with this challenge. The instrument was hard to hold up and difficult to make a sound from. Eventually, with the help of some Aboriginals, we were able to create a decent sound. We decided to spend the rest of our evening in Sydney at the Sydney Opera House. The Sydney Opera House was opened on October 20th, 1973. It attracts millions each year from all over the world. Performances such as ballet, contemporary dance, opera, classical music, and more have occurred there. On the night we went, Heathers, the musical, was being performed. We ended our night in Australia by checking into the Intercontinental Sydney Hotel.
We departed from Sydney at 6 a.m. the next day and arrived at Sultan Husainuddin Airport in Indonesia at 1:15 p.m. Indonesia is a semi-periphery country with a population of 253 million people. On the island of Sulawesi, a very unique culture is practiced by the Torosians. When someone passes away, they are kept and treated although they are still alive. The deceased members are fed, talked to, and get their clothes changed. They live for the families for up to years. We were taken in by the Torosians with open arms because it shows the family's importance. We attended the funeral of an old woman where we were served tea, coffee, and snacks. It is believed that in order for the soul to pass on to the afterlife, a buffalo must be sacrificed and the meat must be shared. Finally, we concluded our amazing race by departing from Sultan Husainuddin at 6 p.m. and arriving at LAX at 7:30 the next day. On our trip, we learned about diverse cultures of many amazing places in the world. Around the world, people want to be loved.